Inişinin diyası in maradu abichuni kuswada dia lanyara tonu dia do sua amida tua amida tua.
Hello and welcome to the School of Love. This is Yana Good, and this video is a second part to our first introductory video about our school and the extraordinary products that I've created for women to go deep into loving themselves, activating their sensuality, sexuality, healing their sexuality, healing their sensuality. And I shared my personal story, my evolution as a woman, and my love story. And so I mentioned there that when I got married to the love of my life, just the feminine practices were not enough. The feminine practices were enough to actually heal my self-confidence. It empowered me as a woman. I felt deeply desirable, that I can get any man I wanted. It's an exaggeration, not every man, but the most men that were around me, I could have them with my feminine power, with my feminine enchantment, with my advantage that I had at 46, 47, 48, 49 over the young women from 20 to 30 to 35 to 40. I had the deep advantage over the younger women because I had my inner feminine rose open and blooming, and I had full control over my pheromones. I did not require anything external. I went into a deep experiment of not wearing any makeup, not wearing heels, jewelry. I would just, feminine dresses, simple, because I was living in Bali on an island where I moved when I was 46, 47. And it was a deep experiment for me. Now that I'm fully activated as a woman, am I desirable enough without anything external? Like, is my inner sexual, sensual potential, is it enough? Can I create this scent of the woman by just utilizing my own pheromones? Or do I need perfumes and to pretty myself up and so forth? And so that was a powerful experiment that lasted up until now. And now I'm going to be 56 in October, so in a couple of months. And only now I started using the makeup for the videos because I do feel my age and I want to look prettier for the camera. But as soon as the videos are over, I wash my face off because my husband is used to constantly kissing me and hugging me and touching me, and he's used to my perfect clean skin. So that was super, super important for me, that I transformed from knowledge to experience, and that I can now teach you and guide you through programs that are proven through my own life and tested for effectivity on different men and fully on my husband. So I want to encourage you to start the journey from the womb healing program, 4 elements, 7 magical meditations. These programs are recorded for you and they will activate your feminine brain, your right hemisphere. They will activate your ability to actually heal yourself from the depths of your own womb. But then I've discovered, and the 4 elements will teach you the practices that will empower your sexuality and your, confidence as a woman. But what I have discovered when I got married is that we have this deep soul wound that we're born with. And this soul wound is blocking our heart for fully opening up to love. And no matter what practices I was doing and how hard I was working, I could not sustain an open heart, accepting, loving, joyful, trusting, divine, feminine, essence emanating frequency. And I really wanted that. That was my goal. That was my dream. And I knew that to get to the heart, it's a fourth chakra. It's a fourth portal. It's the portal between the heaven and earth. This is where all of our negative energy comes up and all of the divine energy comes up. It's a space, it's a cauldron, it's a space holder, our heart chakra, for what we're truly feeling, what we're truly believing, and what we truly know and what we truly desire. It's like the space of who I truly am. And so that journey of diving deep into who I am, into the know thyself path, has led me first through healing my sexuality, healing my sensuality, which is the first two chakras. And then when I got married, it led me to really face my third chakra, the fire, the inner man, the who I think I am. Because when we have this deep internal trauma, the soul wound with which we are born, we start to develop the masks, the roles, the archetypes as we grow older, as the armor, as the protective shield that blocks us from living vulnerably and sensually with the men, with the children, with the world, with our parents. And we block this vulnerability is because we have been deeply traumatized in childhood and as we were growing up. But the self-studies that took me years and years and years to going on this journey of self-discovery has finally led me to the very core of it, is that behind all of these protective layers, at the core of it is I am. And the way I am born is I'm born with a particular imprint already. And so when my husband and I first met, we started studying the human design because we were so different with him and the opposites attract. And so, but it was also difficult for us to really get on the same wavelength because we were total opposites. So the human design helped us to understand that, for example, the way my body system works, that I am a generator of energy. And I generate my energy in my womb, like every woman does. And so, womb healing program, it wasn't like something that you buy and you do one time and you're done. I have been using that as my instrument for over 6 years nonstop, just listening, being guided through it, until it became so imprinted in me that I could just instantly, whenever something arises, I could just go and heal my womb right away, like feel the emotion in my womb and transmute the negative energy, transmute the fear, the rejection, the abandonment, the shame, the guilt, the apathy, the anger. I would just go and deeply, fastly heal into my womb and move the energy back to neutrality. And then I would charge it up with my first chakra, with the orgasmic energy, squeeze the proper muscles. And that's not Kegel exercises. It's what I teach is really deep, separating every muscle, isolating that each muscle is activating a specific hormone, and a specific hormone activates a specific feeling and a state of beingness inside of you. So then I would work, I call it my sexual magnet. I would activate my sexual magnet, and now my womb would become ecstatic. And from this space, the energy could flow towards my heart, and I could have positive thoughts, positive emotions, positive energy. And from that higher space, I could create a new reality. So, the human design showed to me that I am a generator. So that means that as soon as I do my practices, I'm always full of energy. Whereas, and sometimes I need some times off to just get quiet and regenerate myself, but I need it rarely. Most of the time, I can generate energy like that. My husband was not a generator. He's a different type, a projector. And so he, all day long, he's hypersensitive. He feels everything that is happening around him. So if we went to, I like to go to restaurants and rest and enjoy. And he would get intensely tired. And after every outing, when he comes back, he needed to be alone. He needed to sleep a lot because it's like on his lens, internal, he got all these imprints of all these people. And most people live in a victimhood state. And so he would have needed time to cleanse this internal lens. So he's projector, you know. So I was like, why is he not this high, fiery, energetic, let's go here, let's do this, the type of guy that I've always been attracted to, people like me, and generators, energetic people, go-getters, leaders. But I could never stay with them long enough. I would like my relationship wouldn't last more than 3 years. My first marriage was 3 years. My second relationship was like, we were together for 5 years, but the last two I was suffering and trying to find a way to break away and run away. And since then, a couple of years is the most I could handle. So I was like, I kept running away from men, and I kept choosing a similar type energetically, but with different values because I needed to experience different things. So with this husband, like I felt this soul love connection where my womb activated, all of my being, my higher self enfolded me with light. Like I knew it, this is love. But we were so different. But when you truly are in love, and when you truly committed to love, and you have the resources, the energy to love, not to just be selfish and looking for a partner that will, take care of your needs, but you're actually ready to give love, this is where the opposites attract. So we started diving deeper and studying the different feminine archetypes and masculine archetypes in us. And I highly recommend in my retreat, Return to Wholeness, Journey to Wholeness, we have looked and studied the book of the goddesses in every woman and gods in every man. And this is the Greek archetypes that are in the form of God, but because the way people understand God is the human projections on God. So that is partly the archetypes are the human archetypes. And so when we went deeply and studied this psychology through the divine archetypes, we got to see that Bulat and I, we together are the full pantheon of the Greek gods and goddesses, meaning together we will whole and complete. Because all of the feminine archetypes that were highly developed in me, they were not fully present in him. And all of the female archetypes that were not developed in me, that were my weakest points, were his strongest points. So together, our inner women, our inner feminine, our yin energy was complete. When we looked at the masculine archetypes, it was exactly the same. My archetype is a Zeus and a Neptune, and his was the, I don't know in English, it's called Aid. So, huh? Hades. I think Hades. I'm sorry, I don't remember. There's three main masculine archetypes, and the Zeus is the god of fire, and the Neptune is the god of water, and the Hades, I believe. Aid, he's the god of the underworld, the devil, the one that is like rules the world from underneath. So super, super sensitive archetype. And so together we were one, like that we had all three in between of us. And so this way, when we got together, we started basically teaching each other the programs, the archetypes, the vast knowledge that we were both bringing from our past, because Blood was also he had a deep depression by the time he was 30, and his sacred wound was activated at that time, and so he was ready to die. His ego was completely, his personality, his false identity was ready to die. So he went to a psychologist and he studied his journey into knowing himself and studying and learning. But he went the scientific path, where he studied the evolution of the brain and the cells, and because he's a mathematical and physical genius, like he studied in the school for the gifted children. And so he had a different approach. Whereas I went through the feminine brain, through the right hemisphere, which is the left one is logical, masculine. And I was studying from the right hemisphere the art of geisha, the art of enchantment, the sensuality, the feeling. And that was healing my feminine side. And so when we got together, we had these pools of knowledge and information to actually become whole and complete together. And so then we've studied the human design, and we got to see how people are designed differently, and how this complement, how we can complement each other. If I understand and honor the way he's designed, instead of being critical and expecting him to be like me. So we were developing empathy, and so this way our love was evolving into deeper and deeper layers of trust to each other. We were becoming more and more vulnerable together the more we were learning the psychology of the human being, the psychology of the subconscious mind. And our love was blooming because less and less protective layers from our heart, they were falling off, they were dissolving. And so the less protection we had around our heart, the more our love was blooming and blossoming. So from this personal experience space, I created this incredible retreat called Return to Wholeness. And what's unique about it is that it's a journey in a feminine channel, in the frequency of deep openness, truth, and vulnerability of the woman, Yana Good, who lived it. And I'm creating and inviting into that space, and you're living it with me. You are frequency wise aligning with this open space, this sacred container for women. But I'm leading you through these advanced tools and practices that I discovered for myself while I was building a sacred union with my husband. And my husband was constantly in the field. He was filming, he was taking care of me, he was nurturing and supporting. And so that imprint of the sacred union is in the retreat. So what happens to women when they go through this journey of self-discovery and uncovering the victim archetype, and I will share in a little bit more about that, but this victim archetype that is being deeply imprinted in every human being, because we all are born with the soul wound, with the sacred wound of the soul that we come into this life to dissolve. We come into this life to heal it so that the flower of love in the heart can open up. We're coming here to learn to love, to create through love. And for that, we need to discover that love within ourselves. So, the journey to wholeness is an incredible online retreat that I think every woman should go through. It doesn't matter if you're a psychologist, if you have worked on yourself for gazillion years, if you have read a million books on the subject. It doesn't matter what you know. What's important is for you to go through this journey of feeling it unfolding, on taking these walls off, going into this deep vulnerability and learning and discovering in which ways have you been victimizing yourself. In which way have you been living your victim in this world? Whether it is as an aggressor, whether it is as a savior, whether it is as just help poor me victim story. But we all have this triangle of these archetypes. And no matter how many books I read, only when I led this retreat and I lived it through, something tremendously powerful happened to me. As if, like, I undressed. It's like layers and layers of protective shields and masks and protective walls that I thought I already don't have. They were falling and melting away in this feminine flow of love and womanhood and unity and the group dynamic and caring for each other and feeling each one and answering the questions. And it's a really powerful retreat. So first, let me share with you how the retreat is formed. So we start from theory, where I create the frequency for you, and your mind starts to understand and relax and start thinking about things differently. Your worldview is changing. Then we go into a practical part and we start practicing. And then the feelings and emotions happen. And then we're going to question and answer part where we now live it and go deeper into that. And then it's completed. I give you a homework, it's completed. And then my husband and I would spend 8 hours the next day editing these videos. So we would cut out all the extra, all the unnecessary parts. Make it short because it could take 3 to 4. Sometimes one of the sessions was 5 hours for us because it was so powerful, it's so deep, so many questions. And so then we leave only the best. We clean up the sound, we take out all the unnecessary questions and so forth, so that it's not annoying when you're listening to it again. And I would create a special video at the end just for homework, where I would put all the slides that we had, all the work that we had, and I would put it all in one spot. So this way, when I was redoing this retreat, and for the next 2 years, I have taken this retreat myself for 6 times. The 7th time was just me listening to it on the beach and just like feeling like everything I worked through, like everything is done. It was like this satisfaction for me, like I'm complete. I graduated from this retreat. I'm ready to create the next one, the next journey. The journey into I am Queen, opening the Queen codes, the abundance codes, and so forth. So, but let me get back to the wholeness. And so this way, when you are purchasing this retreat now, you're getting it in the recording. I will never do it again. I always hesitate when I use the word never, because you never know what happens in the future. But for now, for the next few years, our plan is to never do it again. Because the recording is extraordinary and you can do it anytime, anywhere, at your own pace when you can do it. And you can do it multiple times because you will need it. our subconscious only releases a certain amount, and we can only handle a certain amount of information and transformation. So I'll share with you how I was using the retreat, which is what I recommend for you as well. So I would walk on the beach, or whenever I would wake up in the morning and I'm doing my housework, I would be listening to this theory. When you're listening the first time, of course, you're going to watch it because there are slides, there is a lot I'm showing, you're going to feel into it. But then when you're doing it a second, third time, I would listen to the theory, keep my eye on it as I'm like walking or doing, or in the gym. I would put it in front of me, and I would do some cardio and just watch and listen, get my thoughts going. And then I would do the practice already at home when I have time for that. And then I would open the homework. And in the homework, I would just sit and write everything, go through the slides and do the homework of getting, because I use the Socrates method of knowing yourself. So you are answering the questions, going deep, diving deep. Every time you go deeper and deeper, because at first, the way our subconscious works, we will have the stories of our childhood. We will have the victim archetypes comes as blaming somebody that did something to me. So we will remember how our mom, our dad, our grandparents, siblings, friends, family, how we have been injured, how we have been rejected, abandoned, humiliated, hurt, violated, sexualized, and so forth. That all this stuff is first going to come up as this external stories. Has somebody did this to me? Because the victim archetype is always to blame somebody. We put a finger on somebody. But the truth is that when we stick that gun at somebody else, the four fingers, the other four, are leading towards ourselves. So that's how the journey of know thyself is really led me into this deep, like it's like a vortex where I dived into this darkness of who I am. Because the victim is running on shame, the energy of shame, guilt, apathy, fear, and not trusting ourselves. And deep inside, underneath all of these layers, and I'm going to put now the slide for you for the Hawkins scale, so you can take a look at that, because Hawkins scale was one of our instruments that we used in the retreat to study our emotions. But deep inside, underneath all of that, if you ever read this book, you can see the author and the name and her. She has many books on love, on self-love and self-healing. Here is on the screen. I forgot her name. She said that after 20 years of therapy with people from all over the world in all kind of societies from rich to poor, she has discovered that underneath all the wounds, there is one wound called I am not good enough. And for me, I discovered it's I am not lovable enough. That behind the I'm not good enough hides the I'm not lovable enough. And then if you read the book, or I highly recommend that you read the book of Liz Bourbeau, The 5 Traumas, 5 Soul Traumas, there is the explanation, why am I not lovable enough? And you will see that you come with this imprinted trauma that has happened actually in the wound, but in reality, it also happened before we came. We carry with us this reincarnational trauma that in each lifetime we have the free choice, and we can feed the black dragon or the golden dragon. We can lead we can be on the side of good and love and generosity, or on the side of scarcity, lack, limitation, anger, war, mentality. So whatever animal we're feeding, whatever game we're playing, the black or the white, we are creating this energetic imprint that when we die, and when we die is like, if you look into the, like, from a chakra perspective, we have the physical body. So our first chakra is about the physical body. The sexuality is the core issue in that chakra. We have an emotional body. The womb is responsible for our emotions, and we have the mental body. And so usually it is in the third chakra is the mental constructs of who we think we are. So we're operating from not the real self, the higher self, but through this false identity, the ego self that we create throughout life. And so when we die, those disappear. But then we have the higher, we have 7 levels of the body. So we have the physical body, the etheric body, the emotional body, the mental body. But then we have the finer bodies, the causal body, the buddhic body, and the Atman body. So those are the bodies of the soul. If the first lower 3 chakras, but it's really the first 4 bodies, are the ones that form our personality, that we live as who I am in this world. The finer bodies that affect, they're our soul bodies, and so they don't die. And so in our causal body, all these energetic imprints, all our thought forms, all of our deeds, the good and bad, whatever we feel good for, we feel guilty for, all of this creates an energetic imprint, the vibrational frequency of which is stored in our causal body. So based on that is generated our karma for the next embodiment. And so we carry this trauma, the soul trauma, even before we are born, based on this sum total of our behavior. Basically, the trauma is built. And so based on that, we were looking in our retreat into the Akashic records. I went deep into how it's all formed. Here, I just want to give you like a little bit of information. Based on that soul seed, our karmic journey is basically created, like our fate is in big strokes, so to speak, is our human design is pre-created. And then when this is how we choose, our soul chooses the parents and so forth. So the environment, the parents, the social, the religion, the ethnic egregores, the thought forms, and all of them are just activators, our soul blueprint. And so, but because we are not aware of that, we are the victim of false ego identity that thinks that the enemy is out there. So that's why we're always pointing at somebody to blame. My mom did this to me. My ex-husband was horrible. Like, they did this to me. My teacher, blah, blah, blah. My ex-boyfriend, my ex-husband. So we're looking for the aggressor that is responsible for the pain we're feeling inside. But in reality, the external world is just the activating force of our internal imprint. And so what helped us to deal with my husband deeper with that and understand that deeper, so that we could get to the core and heal our soul wounds for which we came. We were embodied here for the experiencing life, but also for the evolution of our soul, to heal, to fix, to compensate for what in the previous lifetimes we have messed up with. So we need to make better choices. And so we discovered the gene codes by Richard Rod. And it's an incredible, he called it the Golden Path. And so it's like 4 books. And the first book, it's like that thick. And it's about 64 gene codes every human is born with. And we have it in our blood, in our DNA. And each gene consists of 3 frequency. The shadow, where for example, the fear is, the gift, and the siddhi. The siddhi is when we're aligned with our I am presence, with our higher self, like our the divine feminine, I call it, or divine masculine in the men, the god and the goddess space. And so we are constantly living on these 64 highways of that are from the lowest frequency to the highest frequency. And where we are vacillating on those creates our point of assembly. And from this point of assembly, we think this is who I am. And we create a false identity about who I am. But in reality, it's all very liquid. It's like liquid light. It's like we're never who we think we are. We can always change, we can always expand. But most people who are unaware and haven't done all this deep work, and for women who haven't healed their womb, they have no capacity to actually feel that. They have a capacity to study it, understand it, talk about it, teach it, but no capacity to actually live it and transform it and actually fly through this. And I'm speaking from experience because we are like hard matter, and then we have to kind of move into lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter version of ourselves. And this is what's happening in the wholeness retreat, is we drop these harder layers so we can become softer, like pliable, more like liquid water, liquid fire. And this way our thoughts, we can, when we finally heal it, we can actually now can control our thoughts, because we cannot control our thoughts. We can only influence our thoughts with the frequency, which is exactly point of assembly of our sum total of our whole being. And our whole being is our 7 bodies: Atman, Buddhic, causal, mental, astral, etheric, and physical body. And so who I am is a very multi-dimensional being. And so it took us time to learn and study. So first we looked into the gene codes and discovered the 64 shadows and the 64 gifts and the 64 siddhis, divine essence of the human being, within ourselves. But then starts the 3 other books. It's called The Golden Path, where you actually look into your own blueprint, like what you are born with 11 actually gene codes. I'm going to put a slide now. You can take a look at that. That each of us has like 11 actual gene codes that we are here to activate. And they all contain the imprint that lead us to healing the soul wound. And it's like a whole journey of unveiling how, when you're a child, how all your wounds are being activated in your mental body, in your emotional body, in your spiritual body. And so that was profound. My husband and I, we studied it for 6 months, day and night, like 16 hours a day. Sometimes I was reading, and everything that was coming up, we were discussing it and healing that. And then I would do a womb healing for myself to get all these emotions dissolved and transmuted into back to love. So when we completed that, we met this new teacher that is, unfortunately, it's a Russian genius man, and he's not translated into English. And so he had like 30 books. And in his teachings, he actually works on everything. So it's like a psychology of the subconscious mind. He starts working and breaking everything into pieces. And so then my husband and I went on this deep journey of healing and understanding all the 7 bodies and how all these programs work, because we're literally as a computer. And we have the hardware, which is with this human design, with the gene codes, this blueprint that is imprinted as a main hardware within us. And then we have the files downloaded as we go through life, and we make choices, and we work with our evolution, or we digress, or we expand in the light, or we go deeper into the darkness. We experience different parts in our lives. We experience the dark soul, the dark night of the soul, I think they call it. So we go through ups and downs, living ourselves, discovering who we are, playing the dance of dark and light. I call it riding the black dragon, riding the golden dragon, experiencing as a God beingness, having the freedom to play around. But there is a law of cause and effect. And so when we choose our higher potentiality, to express ourselves as our higher potentiality, of course, the universe rewards us with more abundance, with more expansion, with more love. And when we choose the darker parts of us to live and experience, everything contracts. Life becomes harder. We become hurt and betrayed and punished, because this is the way God is talking to us, through pain and through pleasure. And so when I was younger, I was super scared of my darker part, and I was playing into being the good girl, and I wanted to be the spiritual girl, the good wife, the good mother, the good everything, the perfect one, the ideal one. Is because if you read Liz Bourbeau, the 5 traumas of the soul, mine is the first trauma, the rejected one. And so the rejected one is going to develop the identity to be the perfect one, so that I'm not rejected. But the gene codes help me to understand that the only way I can get to my siddhi is through the darkness. I had to go into the shadow. I had to go into the core wound, and then traveling deep down there, I would learn how to not reject myself. I would learn how to accept who God truly is and how God really created and made me. And so here is, that led me on a deeper journey into understanding who I am, who is God for me, because each of us is going to have our own vision and picture of who is God based on our evolutionary growth and potentiality to see the world, and not to project on it our childish concepts, because most people project on the concept of God their mother father issues, and God is the mom and dad for them. So but I went through all of this journey, so it was all part of my experience as well. So anyhow, this journey has led me to deep humility and deep vulnerability, but helped me to master these tools that we would practice with my husband. And he developed an incredible method now that allows to take you from any spot of trauma, any disturbance, any program that you have, and take you through your multi-dimensional body, through all the layers of your body, and help you purify and clarify and heal and unstuck, because many times the bodies are stuck, yourself. And all of a sudden, this whole energy, fluidity and energy and lightness and the beingness comes into place, instead of like the ego masked, tight, heavy, I am this and I'm like that, and the victimhood part. It dissolves, and you feel this incredible like lightness, because you connect to your Atman body. You travel all the way to your Atman body and connect to your higher self. And then his system, I call it traveling through the black dragon. And then you connect, like the dragon purifies himself through this journey. And why is the dragon has these 3 heads? Is the victim, the aggressor, and the savior. the Karpman triangle, right? It's like this part of us that has all of it, because the victim requires an aggressor, and the aggressor is the victim of the victim, and then they need both a savior, and the savior is the victim of the aggressor and the victim of the victim. And so at the end, it really is the victim, but we just live it differently, through different expressions of ourselves. With our children, we're the savior. With our husband, we can be the victim, or we can be the aggressor for our husband. We can be passive aggressive. So it's the games that humans play. But anyhow, once we take the journey on this black dragon through the seven bodies that we are, through the multidimensional universe that we are, when we go into this space, at the end, the gift, we're looking for the treasure. What is the treasure? What is that every human being desires? Is they want to feel happy. Well, when do you feel happy? When you feel fulfilled. When do you feel fulfilled? When your energy is flowing through you and you feel ecstatic, orgasmic, in love. And for that, you need to feel trusting, relaxed. And for that, you need to feel vulnerable, open. And so this journey to wholeness is bringing you to who I am, is this whole and complete, imperfectly perfect. And I think that is the most valuable experience that I've ever had. And so, of course, you can use your money and your time in buying, brand, clothing and items to prove to others how valuable you are. But when you go through this journey into your own wholeness, you discover your true inner value. You discover your true happiness, your true love, your true lightness. You get to embrace your darkness, your actual wound, and you kind of nurture your own self. And you discover, like I discovered, that it was how I was rejecting not only different parts of me, but different parts of the world and different parts of experiencing. So for me, only beautiful and young was valuable. And I was rejecting old age, wrinkles, out of shapeness, unhealthiness. I was deeply scared of that. And so rejecting that kept me deeply in constant fear and constant trying to be my best and to do my best. Well, that's exhausting. It takes a lot of energy. And that is only leaving one part of me. But once I connected to that wound and I traveled into it, and this is the funniest thing, I read Liz Bourbeau's book, Five Traumas, probably in my late 30s when I was living in San Diego in California. And I remember like my hair stood up on my head, my eyes were open, I was reading, I was like, I have all the five traumas. But there is one that is your sacred wound. We all have all the five traumas, but there is one that you came here to actually heal. That is the heart of your victim archetype. So much I want to share with you, so much I want to teach you. But I do want to invite you into the retreat that you go through this journey yourself. This sacred feminine journey of uncovering your victim. Because as soon as we embrace her and start nurturing her, this deep level of kindness and truth starts opening up. And so, as I mentioned, like I read the book years ago, like not years, like decades ago. I'm 56 almost now, right? So at the time, I just became aware of that. And it took me so many years and so many tools to actually feel that only now I feel I finally have healed this wound. And all this life was a journey to this wound. And so the faster we get to it, the faster we become aware of our 11 gene codes that give us the map for our unique victimhood journey. The faster we can start living in the higher frequencies, the faster we start living in a space of love, truth, and abundance. And so now, super quickly, I want to show you some slides and just very, very quickly go over them. Actually, I'm going to do it. We've got a construction started right now, so I have to take a break. So it's going to be the second part. In the second part of this video, I will actually go through some really practical slides and share with you a little bit more into depth, so you do get a lot of value whenever you are watching the videos in our channel in the School of Love. I always want to give you value. Every one of my videos is about education, transformation, and invitation into our schools, where the instruments that I've created help to heal and bring us and cultivate the divine feminine. For me, this is my ultimate archetype. But the next journey after healing the victim is the Queen Archetype, because she's the creatrix of her own life. It's a new level and layer of living in awareness. And so I'm inviting you to watch the next video. And I hope that you already put your likes, and I hope that you write a couple of kind words to me, that if this was helpful for you or interesting, it's important for me and it's important for you to receive and to give back. And if I am the right teacher for you, if this is the right channel for you, do support it with your kindness, do share this with your friends. Come to my website, yanagood.com, and experience this space that I created for women. Because just reading and watching the videos that I've done there and the programs, it's already going to soften you. You already are going to connect to that feminine essence and drop into that space. So thank you for your love, for your support, for your gratitude. I definitely receive that, and I'm here in the service through love and pleasure and evolution of the divine feminine.